In part 2 of the 9.9 refines, we're covering Bertram and the remixes for Mythic Askr plus Legendary Veronica. Bertram is our heroic row refine for this month. He isn't the most impressive sword cavalier, featuring not the best speed and then just okay attack and defense. Bertram puts a lot of his stats into HP. Now, Bertram will get a proper unique weapon. Clouded Blade, aka the Path of Radiance Rune Sword, has 16 might and comes with near trace 4 Kanto plus adaptive damage. If initiating or next to one or fewer allies, Bertram gets plus 5 total stats, heals 7 HP on hit, and reduces damage from attacks by X times 4, with double the amount of flat DR when the enemy triggers their special. The Rune Sword manifests its magical properties with adaptive damage and then has on-hit lifesteal. Bertram gets a better Excel flat DR effect since all of it works on both phases. You then have a nice Kanto ability, minimum Kanto 2 with potentially more depending on remaining movement. For the refine, for foes within 3 rows or columns, inflict -5 stats, guard, and then the foe suffers a free fall-up attack. If above 25% HP, Bertram deals 20% defense as true damage per hit. Very simple refine, Bertram's got Spectrum Crux debuff with added guard support. He then gets a true damage effect. Overall, nothing too spectacular. In terms of her grow refines, you usually do not see this level of Kanto. Adaptive damage is nice, though not the best against the pure tanks. For builds, with his stat spread, Bertram's pretty much a prime Emblem Sigurd, Attack and Defense Excel plus Momentum build user. This is an initiation focused setup with double Excel flat DR, and then you ideally want an unpierceable % DR special like Haze Slice. If you move 3 spaces with Momentum, then along with Haze Slice's own cooldown, you can trigger the special immediately. For other 3 cooldown specials like No Quarter or just Bonfire, Bertram can proc it on the follow-up. For C skills, Fatal Smoke is fine, but we can only take so many skills from Sigurd. Insight Hone is a solid team buffing skill, but it has kind of been outdone by the new Outcry Dull. We traded the Incited status for low, and then you get true damage based on movement. Perfect effect for this type of build, although there's no defense focused Insight Hone nor Outcry Dull, so you're gonna have to settle with the attack and speed version. If you want more true damage, technically Blue Skies offers true damage and flat DR from the A slot. We're gonna waste its Kanto effect though, and it's another attack and speed focused skill. Now if you want to try and outspeeding things, this is where Potent could make a difference. It's not actually outspeeding, but Bertram could get an 80% damage follow-up attack on faster foes. Potent Assault has 50% DR piercing and more true damage. You could also go with Outcry Dull for triple true damage skills and of course more attack and speed. For specials, Haze Slice would be fine, but you could try Arch Rival. It's going to be incredibly hard to charge, but against green foes, the -2 cooldown plus 1 heavy blade hit, plus tanking 1 enemy counterattack would charge Arch Rival for a follow-up. We also have a new 5 cooldown option in Gale Force Mist from the Gladiator banner. It's just Gale Force with 40% DR on all attacks when you initiate. Basically, it's Haze Slice minus the damage. For other skills, you could use Distant Counter for that Rune Sword range, maybe Breath of Life for extra healing. Enemy phases where Arch Rival's guaranteed 40% DR will be really nice. Bertram probably is going to get doubled a lot though, so you can't really rely on it to keep him fully safe. Now, for other initiation skills, you could try Sturdy Flare for Flame Tiles plus lots of defense. Flow Guard overlaps a little, but you could get Scowl this way. There is also the Flow Refresh to Conceal for extra healing, plus it might let Bertram bypass Fall Denial. For some oddball skills, Odd Defense Wave 4 would be nice for tempo, still pretty rare to get. If you want a utility build, you could use the new Favor B skills, buff Alice to go with the Refine's Crux boss, and then maybe that pairs with Shadow Shift or Smite. Just a reminder, the Shadow Assist skills will not trigger things like Favor. For tuned X skills, Low Echo is going to be a fine cavalry option. You could also get Distant Counter from here. All in all, Bertram's not really going to be a standout heroic rare unit any more than before, but his weapon's okay. For general content, having that Kanto is super nice, and against other defense-focused foes, you can at least target their weaker res stats for some free damage. Next up, Mythic Askr is a Colorless Beast infantry with high tech and defense. For his remix, he has upgraded his C skill Open Domain, which I want to cover first. Askr gains a new transformation condition, which includes being within 2 spaces of any unit from a different title. Like the Fortune skills, he can also transform immediately on Aether Raid's defense if for some reason you want to run a light mythic there. At start of either phase, except in enemy phase and summoner duels, if within 3 spaces of an ally from a different title, Askr will grant +6 second defense, resonance blades and shields, and then times pulse. In combat, Askr will get +5 attack, defense, and res, 7 flat damage reduction, and if he has 5 more defense than the enemy, he's going to get Hardy Bearing. Last, after combat, for Askr allies within 3 spaces, they're going to get -1 cooldown if their specials at max cooldown value. Open Domain Plus got the same quality of life upgrades as Halloween Askr's C skill. It now works on either phase. It has 3 space range and upgraded to attack and defense buffing plus times +4 support. If you have any unit not from heroes nearby, Askr will transform. He then gets more stats, 7 flat DR, and hardy bearing if he wins a defense check. Onto Illuminating Horn, the base weapon got one small change. This slang weapon requires Askr to initiate or be within 3 spaces of an ally. He gets +5 to all stats, a free follow-up attack, and then 20% defense as true damage and flat damage reduction. Only change here was the 2 to 3 space range condition. For the actual refine, for allies within 3 rows or columns, Askr gives them +5 attack, defense, and res, debuff neutralization, and guard. If the foe initiates combat or is above 25% health, Askr can get +11 attack, defense, and res if 3 allies are within 3 spaces of him. He also gets debuff neutralization and guard. Last, Askr gets 50% DR piercing. The refine will add more support for the team. Debuff neutralization is great, and with the long range, you can avoid effects that leech off nearby allies. Guard is a bit less impressive, but I guess it's okay. When transformed, Askr will get tempo, so at least he can mess with enemies who don't bring no guard or instant cooldown. Overall, Askr does add a bunch of stats for himself with his upgrades. Sadly, if you wanted a fun speed build, well, good luck. Now, times pulse 4 and debuff neutralization support is nice. Askr being able to operate from 3 spaces away is a very good advantage too. As part of his remix, Askr upgraded from Bulwark to Spiked Wall. He retains the Super Upstruck, will now get 35% defense true damage and then 7 more flat DR. The no guard effect is kinda wasted. Now with Slang plus times pulse, Askr can charge 3 cooldown specials after getting hit 1 time. Ideally, you want to upgrade to Sturdy Beast over Bonfire. If he out-defenses the enemy, Askr has hardy bearings to get his counterattacks in. Will have 50% piercing and a follow-up, but otherwise that's kinda it besides the extra true damage. Defensively, Askr does get 1 follow-up denial thanks to Resonant Shields. If the foe doesn't trigger a special immediately, he won't have any kind of percent DR on that first hit, and obviously without help, brave attacks could be an issue too. He's gonna have high defense, but I can't say he's gonna have a super crazy defensive plan or anything, especially in Aether Raids where he's already at a stated disadvantage. Now, for other setups, you could run Lagu's Friend, 40% defense flat DR total, but you cannot run Sturdy Beast. You could try Ice Wall or wait for an Ignis equivalent, or you could resort to defensive specials. In the A slot, Finish would be nice for instant special counterattack builds, and you could pair this with one of the Finish B skills. Low Finish only has a Spin and Res variant, but it would be a decent option if you don't care about Spiked Wall's Bulwark effect. For other skills, Askr could always run Distant Counter or flat stats via Fortification / Stronghold. I don't have it listed, but the Wild and Fortune B skills could still work. We don't need Fortune Transformation, but it still comes with low and after combat healing. If you did want to run Lagu's Friend, Miracle could be an annoying option for pure survivability. In that Sacred Seal slot, you can get another Finish skill or Prime skill for stats. If you want to take some damage and don't heal, Wrath could be fun with the times pulse effect. For example, next player phase, Askr could pre-charge Sturdy Beast to initiate with. If you just want Askr for support reasons, he could run the new favorite B skills. He's already got resonant statuses to stack with Empathy, and then Askr could hand out more cooldown along with his times pulse effect. He also would allow himself to pre-charge Sturdy Beast. All in all, Askr's Refine and Remix is decent on the supporter side, but it might be less impressive compared to Halloween Askr. Instead of debuff neutralization and guard, that ult will give Breath of Life 4 and 50% DR piercing support. It's a good bit rarer. Now, Mythic blessings aside, the Halloween ult is also a more modernly optimized unit for combat. Last Refine and Remix for this month is Legendary Veronica. Veronica just got a new ult, and while both are Glance Cannon type Mage Cavaliers, Tea-Time Veronica's gonna brute force fights with high unpierceable percent DR, while Legendary doesn't really want to get touched at all. This Refine and Remix will not solve Veronica's issues dealing with Hardy Bearing or Nelsie Disrupt, but if she can't avoid those, she's bringing a whole lot of firepower. Let's start with Enclosing Dark first. This 14-might Slang Tome has built-in Desperation. If initiating or when next to 1 or fewer allies, Veronica gets +6 attack and speed, full no follow-up, and more effects based on how many foes are within 2 spaces of the main target. If there's only 1 nearby foe, she inflicts -4 speed and res. If there are 2 or more nearby foes, inflict -8 speed and res, and the foe cannot counterattack back. Enclosing Dark is functionally the same. It added full no follow-up, which prevents Veronica from getting doubled by slower foes. This won't do anything against brave attacks. It then is easier to use on the enemy phase, but Veronica also kinda doesn't want to get touched anyway there. Unlike Bruno, she only gets Desperation for initiations and doesn't have Vantage. There are 0 other defensive perks on this unit. For the Refine, each turn if above 25% health, Veronica gives +6 attack and speed, Preempt Pulse, and Resonance Blades to herself and allies within 2 spaces. In combat, Veronica gets more attack and speed equal to 6 plus 10% of her flat speed. She then deals true damage equal to 5 times the number of advantageous statuses in the fight. If there are 5 of those statuses, Veronica can get 25 true damage. Essentially, Veronica can give plus 10 attack and speed support and pre and pulse for minus 1 instant cooldown. The status is pretty rare even though that effect is everywhere nowadays. Veronica will then get more attack and speed with up to 25 true damage. To get more statuses, Veronica's Enclosure special has been remixed. This 2-counter special now deals 30% attack as damage and it has full DR piercing. Each turn, Veronica can inflict minus 7 speed and res, feud, and sabotage onto the closest foes and foes within 2 spaces of that. She then has no guard in combat and then the potent follow-up effect. If the foe has feud active, Veronica gets a 100% potent hit, otherwise it's the weaker 40% one. Enclosure 2 is quite good. Feud is one of the rarest statuses to deny enemy drive type support auras. T-time Veronica can apply it mid-phase, which is better, but this Veronica also has sabotage for her speed and res debuffs. With this refined, Veronica's game plan is very simple. Stack a lot of attack and speed, inflict speed and res debuffs, deny enemy support buffs, and then attack groups of enemies to get the sweep effect. If the foe has feud active, Veronica can get 3 full damage attacks. Pre and pulse will pre-charge Enclosure for that first hit. The second hit recharges it due to no guard, and then the third potent hit is another Enclosure. This kit will have 4 advantageous statuses, try to get 1 more for the 25 true damage. As mentioned earlier, this refined / remix doesn't add any new defensive measures. Veronica can get the sweep effect against groups of enemies. If that target is solo or has Nelsie Disrupt, she also has Desperation as a backup to attack 3 times in a row. Now, if the enemy has Nelsie Disrupt and Hardy Bearing, well, you better one-shot with Enclosure, cause it's basically over if Veronica gets hit. Now, as part of this remix, Veronica upgrades to Speed and Res Far Resound, which is a pretty new skill. Far Trace 4 plus Resonance. The Conto ability is good for retreating after initiating, but Veronica already has a full DR piercing special, and she doesn't have the highest HP to get the most out of Resonance. If you only reach 40 HP, that's 40% DR on the second regular attack, and then 8 true damage on all 3 hits. Other B skills like Speed and Res Shackle or Occultist Strike can offer better damage, but obviously no Conto to escape. Shackle's debuffs are going to be nice since they don't overlap with Veronica's. She naturally has Panic Smoke 4 to debuff enemies after combat, but that's not going to help initially. You could use Fatal Smoke to handle Miracle. You can also use Insight Hone. The field buffs are going to be wasted, but the Insight status and the skill itself can still grant another 8 attack and speed potentially. From the A slot, Catch is going to be fine, but you could also run Slice with Sparrow. With 1 cooldown Enclosure, the new Aria A skill grants the exact same bonuses as Slice with Sparrow, except you don't get 5 true damage on the second regular attack, so technically it's worse. As an alternative, if you want the Flame Tiles, Flared Sparrow is fun to use still. Basically, Veronica's Refined Remix do the heavy lifting in terms of effects. Across the board, you can upgrade to modern skills for a little more attack and speed plus extra true damage, but nothing's really changing her super offensive playstyle already. That'll be it for the second part of the 9x9 refines. Let me know your thoughts and share your own build ideas with everyone if you would like. If you missed part 1, we covered the Serial 7 winners, Brave Soren, Corrin, Govig, and Mel Robin. Next up, I'm going to be going over the new Gladiator banner. Thank you for watching, have fun with the new skills, and I will see you in the next video.